So, classmates, let us move on to the rituals and ceremonies. According to Joseph Campbell, ritual is the enactment of a myth, and by participating in a ritual, you are participating in a myth. Bringing one into accord with their inherent wisdom, by participating in a ritual, great consciousness is reminded of their own life's wisdom, making it crucial. So according to Joseph Campbell, rituals daw ay pag-participate sa isang myth and our consciousness reminds us about our own lives, which makes it important. So the earliest records of civilization shows that rituals including self-care practices, marriage ceremonies, and political traditions have always been present. These rituals, which have been neglected and misinterpreted, are essentials for maintaining balance and harmony in societies. Rituals have several functions, such as in asking for good harvest, asking for guidance and protection from unseen forces, to heal the sick, to bring good luck and conceive. Dance and chants are essential part of rituals. So now, let's move on to the classification of rituals. The first one is the mimicry in ritual, the ritual that frequently retells myths or portions of myths. The second one is the rituals, both positive and negative. Positive rituals mostly center on blessing an item or a person, whereas negative rituals emphasize the loss of prohibition. Ritual sacrifice. In the oldest forms of religion, this is frequently observed. This stands out because the sacrifice was completely destroyed as a gift to a higher power, a human being, an animal, crops, or artifacts may be offered as a sacrifice. The last one is the ritual for life crisis. The change from one lifestyle or stage to another, typically this rite serves to define the person's life. An illustration of this is a burial of the placenta soon after childbirth. Now, alamin natin ano nga ba ang functions of rituals. Number 1. Expressions of affective states of mind. Every ceremony is an expression of affective states of the mind of two or more persons. Number 2 is the consciousness of duty. These ceremonies are, however, not spontaneous expressions. A sentiment of obligation is attached to them. It is the duty of everyone in a community to participate in a ceremony. And number 3 is connected with laws regulating the affective life. Each ceremony may be explained by reference to the fundamental laws regulating the affective life of the community. For example, weaving or embracing are the psychological expressions of the affective life of human beings. Number 4 is the renewal of social sentiments. Social solidarity requires constant renewal of social sentiments. This function is performed by the ceremonies towards those taking part in it. For example, the peacemaking ceremony is a method by which feelings of enmity are substituted by feelings of friendship. Similarly, the different rituals performed in a marriage ceremony renew the bonds of attachment. To the last one, fulfillment of social needs. It is clear from the above discussion that the ceremonies and rituals are the means to the fulfillment of social needs. These social needs are in their fulfillment as follows. For its existence, a society depends on the presence in the minds of its members of a certain system of sentiments by which the conduct of the individual is regulated in the conformity with the need of the society. This is done by the means of ceremonies and rituals. Sentiments affect social cohesion. Ceremonies and rituals renew social sentiments. Though the sentiments are innate, but they are developed by the actions of society. This development of the sentiment is necessary for the transitions into adulthood. This function is performed by the ceremonies. Ceremonial customs of social society are the means by which sentiments are given collective expressions on appropriate occasions. This helps in maintaining collective consciousness and keeping solidarity in check. The ceremonial expressions of any sentiment serves to maintain it in the mind of the individuals and also to transfer it from one generation to another. Now that we know the functions of rituals, let's move on to the finding and creating meaning in life. By answering questions and identifying a purpose, Viktor Frank points out the significance of creating meaning in life. People can make the world better and contribute to the making the world better by addressing philosophical, transcendental, and moral issues. Each of us will do it in our own way, starting with ourselves, with our potential and experiences, discovering ourselves every day. Moreover, the meaning of life may not only differ from one person to another, but we ourselves may have a different life purpose at each stage of life. The important thing is for each goal is to give us satisfaction and encouragement to get up in the morning and fight for what we want. Frank developed logotherapy and existential crisis, which are based on philosophical and psychological concepts, particularly the desire to find a meaning in life and free will. Frank identified main ways of realizing the meaning in life by making a difference in the world, by having particular experiences, or by adopting in the attitudes. The primary techniques offered by logotherapy and existential analysis are: number 1, paradoxical intentions. Clients learn to overcome obsessions or anxieties by self-distancing and humorous exaggeration. Number 2, the reflection, drawing the client's attention away from their symptoms, as hyperreflection can lead to inaction. Number 3, Socratic dialogue and attitude modification, asking questions designed to help a client and pursue self-defined meaning in life. So, classmates, let's move on to discovering the meaning in life. The number 1 is live with decision. We've all seen before people who handle very tough circumstances with positivity and motivation. How do they do that? We all share the same biological structure, but what sets us apart from these people is their determination. Being determined to achieve something, overcome all obstacles, and fight for what we want, however small, will help us clarify our purpose in each stage of our life. And number 2, even if you suffer, have your purpose clear, and you will find strength. Viktor Frank explained in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, that there is nothing worse than perceiving that our suffering is useless. However, if you can find a purpose, you won't just endure your suffering, you'll see it as a challenge. And number 3, change your attitude to find higher meaning in life. Sometimes, life is not fair. Sometimes we work to exhaustion and invest all our time, energy, emotions, and heart. Yet only fate hunts us setbacks. Every dream we have falls apart. Backing down is more than logical and understandable, but when this happens, we always have two options.
Okay, now let's proceed to our next topic, which is all about ceremonies. So, what is ceremonies? Probably most of us alam na natin what it feels like and what it looks like. Because from our childhood to now, probably nakaranas na tayo ng ceremonies. But we should dig deeper about this. What is ceremonies? Sabi dito, ang ceremonies ay isang coordinated ritualistic performance conducted for a specific purpose and usually incorporating several artistic elements. So, ang ceremonies daw ay ginaganap lang for a specific purpose. Kumbaga, meron siyang pinagkakalaanan na importanteng bagay. Also, according to Dali Messenger III, secular ceremonies are roadmap influences that point the way to a morally righteous and respectable existence. As a Filipino, we hold a big importance and deep respect on our religion. Most especially na ang pinaka-known na religion sa ating bansa ay ang Christianity. Simula pa noon hanggang ngayon, our existence were all influenced by ceremonies because the invincible component of psychological stability, a feeling of identity, assurance of life goals, and a person's sense of self-worth are all influenced by ceremonies. Which basically means that ceremonies are a big part of us. And for that, quality rituals have a strange cultural power that guides our society towards a moral and upright course. Kumbaga, we build high-quality rituals because that's what we believe in. Ito yung pinagniwalaan nating reason for us to live a morally and righteous life and existence. In short, ceremony is an activity performed at a special time with a specific purpose because they mark life essential moments and they reflect our beliefs, hope, tradition, cultures, and spirituality. Lastly, Messenger the Third observed ceremonies could help to raise the level of human happiness in society, assist humans to adjust to change, signposts of the culture and indicate that such a culture has a life-affirming substance, means of expressing, reinforcing, and transmitting values, constructed from the visual and performing arts. Ceremonies done well leave lifelong lasting memories and therefore permanent good effects, and it helps to increase the good psychological, cultural, and social outcomes of the people. Now na natapos na natin i-discuss kung ano ang ceremonies, magtungo na tayo sa types of ceremonies. Merong 10 types of ceremonies. Unahin na natin ang pipe ceremony. Pipe ceremony is very sacred to First Nations people. It is used to open negotiation between different nations as a symbol of peace and goodwill. The pipe ceremony is a place for truthful, respectful conversation to take place and for agreements to be made. Kumbaga ginagawa daw ang isang pipe ceremony to open negotiation and agreement between different nations in a way na they show openness, peace, and respectfulness towards one another. But, paano nga ba ginagawa ang pipe ceremony? In the word pipe, may tobacco involved sa ceremony na to. The tobacco in the pipe is traditionally blessed through prayers and then passed around the circle starting with the pipe carrier. But in some nations, kapag gumagawa sila ng circle, merong two, which is the outer and the inner. For the outer, nandun yung mga babae, and yung inner, nandun yung mga lalaki. Plus, women who has their menstrual period were excused to do the ceremony because they believe that they bring too much power that can harm the ceremony. So, hindi sila involved in doing such ceremony. But in other nations, they only form a one big circle and start the ceremony. After creating a big circle, the pipe carrier says prayer to the 7 cardinal points and then passes the pipe around several times. In these ceremonies, the passing process will contain their sentiments, thoughts, and agreements. And lastly, to close the ceremony, each member of the circle might speak a few words of gratitude. This ceremony is used to encourage truthful, respectful conversation and deliberation. Now, let's proceed to the second type of ceremony, which is the wedding ceremony. We all know naman how important such event and moments, most especially to women. We all know how the two couple will exchange their vows and promises to show their faithfulness and love to one another. Yee, sana all. But, setting the jokes aside, wedding ceremonies traditions vary between tribes. But First Nations people have a rich network of rituals that they weave into their wedding ceremonies in order to honor the couple. And there are 2 rituals weaved by the First Nations people. The first one is the wedding vessel ritual. The parents of the groom might create or procure a vase or vessel of some kind. Traditionally, the parents create the vase out of clay. The vessel has 2 spouts for drinking and each partner drink from each spout. This symbolizes their individuality even though they drink from the same vessel now that they are joined. Kumbaga, yung parents ng groom magpo-provide or magka-create ng vase na merong 2 drinking spouts na iinuman nila parehas that symbolizes their individuality and their jointment as a couple. The second one is the wedding blanket ritual. Each partner is wrapped in a separate blue blankets. A blessing is given and the blankets are removed in exchange for a single white blanket wrapped around both of them that symbolizes their new life together. Couples often display this blanket in their homes. In this ritual naman po, the 2 couples will be separately wrapped into a blue blanket. Then, after nilang ma-bless, papalitan nito into a white blanket that symbolizes their new life together. Nilalagay nila to bilang design sa bahay nila as a remembrance ng pag-iisang dibdib nilang dalawa. The third one is the naming ceremony. In tribal communities, people are given a sacred name, often at different points in time depending on the tribe. Traditionally, when a child is born, the family gathers to reflect on who they might become and settle on the name that might guide them throughout their life. So, Naming ceremony, ito yung celebration of birth ng isang bata, which is nagagather yung buong family to reflect or wish kung ano bang gusto nilang maging nung isang bata. This kind of ceremony also referred as baptismal or christening sa panahon natin ngayon. It is when a baby is given a blessing to be guided throughout their journey in life and a remembrance that their family are there to support them. The name is presented to the grandfather spirits in the four directions and everyone present at the ceremony recites the name. This ceremony is often accompanied by a feast and giving gratitude. In other cultures, the parents might seek a medicine man to meditate on or seek the name of their child. The fourth one is the sunrise ceremony. People come together in prayer and to give thanks for all creation. It is a celebration of the sun and a place to give thanks to Grandfather Sun for providing light and warmth. So, nagawa tong ceremony na to bilang pasasalamat to Grandfather Sun for providing light and warmth. Kasi dati, ang Grandfather of Light or Grandfather of Sun means blessings, and ito yung pininiwalaan noon ng mga tao na cause of all creation. Kumbaga, yung light sa kanila is very important. That's why they are giving thanks for all the creation. Because ito yung pinaniwalaan nila or ito yung kinukonsider nila as their gods. Also, participants might smudge with sage or burn other sacred medicines like sweetgrass and cedar. The fifth one is the Sledge Lodge ceremony. It is a practice by many First Nations people across North America. It is where a fire pit is dug at a special location and rocks are heated. The lodge is built around the fire pit with the opening facing east. Sometimes just the heat from the rock is used and other times water will be poured over the rocks to create steam. Either will make it hot inside the lodge so that participants produce sweat. So, in this kind of ceremony, ang ginagawa lang din nila dito is magsaset sila ng location wherein magkakaroon ng fire pit or magka-create sila or magbibuild sila ng lodge, and inside the lodge will be a fire pit for them to produce sweats. And remember, yung opening nila or yung pinaka-door ng paggawa nila ng lodge dapat facing to east. In short, this kind of ceremony is a purification ceremony wherein participants pray throughout the experience and is meant to be cleansing for all involved depending on their specific needs. Often, a feast is held following the ceremony. Ang pang-anim sa listahan ay ang Sundan Ceremony. It is traditionally held by a tribe once a year in a late spring or early summer as a place for tribes and nomads alike to gather together and reaffirms their basic beliefs about the universe through prayers, rituals, and community. It is an important religious ceremony. In this kind of ceremony, ito yung kumbaga sacrificial ceremony type. Ito yung makikita natin mostly na example sa atin noon na wherein a group of people were dancing through music and using their sacred instruments or sacred objects to give thanks for all the creation, or ito yung ginagawa nilang pasasalamat sa pinaniniwalaan nilang God and nag-ask sila ng mga blessings and guidance for them. Ito din yung nagsisilbi nilang prayers to give gratitudes, and nagpapakita to ng strong relations among them kasi ginagawa nila to as one community. The seventh on the list is the full moon ceremony. The moon is called Grandmother Moon and is greatly respected because it is believed that the moon cycle is a gift to women. The full moon is considered a great source of power, and women sometimes perform a ceremony to honor and seek guidance from Grandmother Moon. It is where they believe that the moon cycle offers mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual cleansing. Women might pray, ask for renewed energy, take water for the moon to bless, perform music and dance, or burn tobacco for cleansing. Kumbaga, itong ceremony na to is mostly made for women or ginagawa lang ng mga kababaihan dahil, kumbaga, ito yung pinaniniwalaan nilang God na mag-protect sa kanila or mag-guide sa kanila throughout their life. They greatly respect it because they believe that it gives them strength and power as a woman. Also, it is their way for purifications. 8. The Strawberry Ceremony. It seeks to honor the lives of missing and murdered indigenous women and girls through payment of respect, speeches, songs, and dances. The strawberry is traditionally a woman's fruit and is often referred to as the heart berry in indigenous culture. In short, yung strawberry ceremony daw is referred or connected to strawberry itself na prutas that symbolizes women. And this kind of ceremony is considered as a pay respect for those missing and murdered indigenous women and girls. Kumbaga, ito yung nagbibigay halaga, importansya, at respeto sa mga kababaihan. 9. Potlatch ceremony. Traditionally used to confer status upon members of the tribe and was used to evenly distribute wealth and power among the community. It comes from the word potlatch, means to give. Ito yung kind ng ceremony na nagko-considered as distribution of wealth para ma-equality sa lahat. Kumbaga, ito yung process na pinaghahatian nila lahat ng bagay para evenly distribute siya sa community. It was historically an integral part to governing and maintaining peace in traditional tribes, giving individuals and family the rights to certain names, powers, and territories. Last on the list is the birthing ceremony. Traditions vary between communities, but most often indigenous people prefer for their children to be born within their communities so that they might immediately establish a clear sense of identity. The entire birthing process is considered sacred, and umbilical cord might be kept in a small bag as a sacred object. In this ceremony, binibigyan nila ng halaga yung birthing process ng isang magulang sa kanilang anak. They preferred na manganak ang isang buntis sa community nila para may sense of identity yung bata, kasi para malaman ng bata kung sino at ano sila bilang parte ng isang community. In addition, yung umbilical cord, ito yung ginugupit para mapahiwalay tayo as a baby sa mga magulang natin. Ito yung part ng nasa pusod natin. Tapos, kinikip nila yon as a sacred object kasi binibigyan nila ng importansya mismo yung bata at yung magulang. It is commonly used to designate a whole range of religious beliefs and rituals, practices whereby man seeks to gain control over his fate and fortune by supernatural means. Now, let's proceed to our last topic, which is all about magic. Magic comprised of words and actions of symbolic meaning. Commonly used to designate a whole range of religious beliefs and ritual practices whereby man seeks to gain control over his fate and fortune by supernatural means. Magic is said to be a supernatural thing. It is when you have the power to control or influence the course of events using supernatural forces. It often leaves us wondering how and why things happen. As a kid back then, I used to believe in magic. I remember how I used my imagination to create magic in my mind, wishing for my life to change in an instant because of some magical words. But of course, none of them came true as it's just a trick in my mind. Back to the topic, a good example of magic is a witchcraft. Witchcraft and sorcery is said to be a terms that describe how humans engage with magic. What is witchcraft? Witchcraft, historically defined as the use of sorcery or magic, or the exercise or invocation of purported supernatural powers to manipulate people or events. In short, ang witchcraft ay isang uri ng paggamit ng mahika kung saan ito ay pinaniniwalaan bilang isang kapangyarihan na kayang manipulahin ang kahit na sino o anumang sitwasyon. In addition, witchcraft came from the word witchcraft and witch, which is derived from the Old English witchcraft, from Wicca, which means masculine, or we say which is feminine, pronounced witcha and wichu, respectively denoting someone who practiced sorcery, and from crave, meaning craft or skill. Kumbaga, ang isang witchcraft ay ginagawa ng, or isang skill ng isang what we call witch, which is the use of sorcery or magic. According to Ronald Hutton, the majority of civilization who subscribe to the idea attribute 5 main traits to witches and witchcraft. Traditionally, beliefs about witchcraft included that it involved using magic to harm or misfortune other people, that it was practiced against one's own community, that it was immoral, and frequently involve communion with evil beings, and that it could be stopped by defensive magic, persuasion, intimidation, or physical punishment of the illegal witch. Although witchcraft is said to be helpful for various reasons, many people believe that it is more likely a bad thing to do, because it can cause misfortune and harm to other people. It is also considered immoral since it is often connected to evil or demons. Some believe that to put an end to this practice, defense magic, persuasion, intimidation, or physical punishment of witches could be necessary. There are two types of witch practices. One of them are spell casting. A spell casting is a set of words, a formula or verse, a ritual, or a combination of these employed to do a magic. It involves the use of magic to control and manipulate someone's life, actions, or decisions, which can be used for good reasons or to harm people. The second one is necromancy or conjuring, the practice of conjuring the spirit of the dead for divination or prophecy. If spellcasting involves the manipulation of someone, necromancy or conjuring on the other hand involves the summoning spirits to connect with them for divination or prophecy. However, these kinds of witch practices can also be used for raising the dead for various reasons, which can have malevolent consequences. Lastly, we can all agree that at some point of our life, or even until now, we believe in such things. And it can be said that these kind of things are basically a part of us. Like how, even now, we celebrate the Day of the Dead and Halloween, where this kind of magic or practices are the subject being involved. It might be true or not, but for sure, these things are some of the things we grew up with without a doubt. And that's all for our today's lesson. Hope you guys learned something from us, and thank you for listening.